think anyone would.
It happens to be the start.
The last part, obviously, in parentheses, would be influenced by Will's work on areas or whatever people agree upon in terms of areas.
Yeah.
And I
Although
put in
the- yeah, the-
brackets the space policy.
It's worth noting too that the area work
Yeah.
not
I
contingent
just
on
want
this.
you to know,
So.
I'm just so proud.
Mhm.
I just expected that to be some like
No, we
giant earth-shattering
Yeah,
thing
me too. I thought you were gonna.
the way you presented it. This
No, I was
is
trying to be helpful.
this was amazing.
I think the preposition is for
Okay.
global space governance. And then I'm not sure if it would be over, in, or of, but I think one of those, one or more of the following areas, is a sentence that makes sense. Now, we may disagree with it for other reasons, but just in terms of syntax,
Okay. So particularly for the version of the resolution that are areas.
yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. And then, so, I didn't try to choose those areas because that would have to be decided upon.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Should we talk about the areas then? Or
Okay,
we
give me just a
just-
second.
Okay.
Stop looking for before force.
I want to vote on something. All everywhere. Food. Soft food. Coming down.
Sure. Will wants to talk about the area wordings that he has.
Yes, areas. So it should
Okay.
be in the Dropbox under area research, day 2 compiled. So
Just a second, I want to pull it up.
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Area research.
It should be areas research, yeah. There, yeah, the third one, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't like this as planetary defense. Planetary defense. Oh, that's a suggestion.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, cool. So this is an attempt to find a balance, I guess, and the limit on the types of activities that
Okay.
can be engaged upon. Some of the criteria and goals for the various activities are things that we do not cooperate extensively or at all on, and that have good international cooperation warrants. So it's not all inclusive, it's not exhaustive by any means of all the possible activities that could be undertaken in space. But that's the goal at least. So if that, as I mentioned earlier, if there are other areas, so kind of like, hey, here's an app that was really good on the space topic in '91, or here's an app that was really good on the high school space topic, here's one that would work well in an international cooperation environment, then those are things that we could explore. So that said, it's like, here's what we got. So 2 different resolutions, one that incorporates Russia and China, and then the other one that's just China. So the Russia-China one has 5 different areas, some that we've discussed before, and some that are new and a little speculative and could maybe use a little more work on as well. So the 5 areas for Russia and China that we don't do a lot of cooperation on at the moment and seem to have some international cooperation warrants are arms control of space weaponization, we talked about that area before, active debris removal, and some of the Trinity folks did work on that, so if you have questions you can direct them their way. Thanks to them for that information. Exchange of space situational awareness information. So that was the work that Rubai did on space situational awareness and the exchange of information. We talked about exchange. There was like a preference for that. Planetary defense, which includes like asteroid detection and deflection. I actually found a pretty good definition of planetary defense that suggests it's 3 phases, so it's not just enough to like go looking for asteroids, we also have to be involved in the like, getting rid of, deflecting, etc. It also doesn't include aliens, so, at least according to the definition I've got. You're welcome, Grimsley. And then space-based solar power, which is, I was looking around for generic kind of like energy in space, like space energy. One of the problems I had there was dark matter and, superconducting super colliders, and which I guess you might think is cool, but the space-based solar power app was a pretty big one on the high school topic. There's good literature on it, and more importantly, in some ways, I think I just included a couple of like an overview, and then there's some links, and you can just kind of trust me on this, but we can do more work on it if you want. But there are, like, China's engaged in efforts to increase space-based solar power, and they are looking for partners, et cetera, too. So it seemed like there was a kind of a co-op angle, but the unilateral counterclaim would also be good there. The only difference between the Russia and China topic and then the PRC only topic is the last part, which is joint crewed missions. And I only did a little bit of work on this. There are other ways to phrase it. It might be limited to, actually some of my folks were telling me maybe just the China space station is one other possibility. But basically the difference between Russia and China is that the United States does no joint missions with China now. There are limitations on that because of fears over tech transfers and things like that. It would be an area that we could work with China that we don't, that we have extensive cooperation with Russia on.
So where's the best card for arms control of space weaponization?
Under weaponization,
Okay.
discussion arms control.
Yeah.
And as far as the phrase goes, you should just read the Gubrud, G-U-B-R-U-D card.
This one?
Yeah, that one's good. Talks about space weapons. And then I guess the Mushler one before is pretty good too. I guess I can talk about the purpose of choosing that. We did this discussion a little bit, but I could rehash some of it. The hope here is that it does not include just like unilateral declaration. I mean, international cooperation already builds that in a little bit, but it kind of is a layered approach to allowing the, or I guess forcing the AF to do co-op and discussion. And so it's like, let's see, yeah, it requires, yeah, people oppose arms control, such as a ban, milder formulations such as codes of conduct are substitute. They do not actually address the control weapons. Such measures do not substitute for measures that actually address ban or limit. So you have to limit or control arms.
I threw arms control of space weaponization into Google and didn't get anything, which might be fine, but with weapons, arms control of weapons, space weapons is a phrase that comes up.
Okay.
Yeah, because that
And
makes sense.
I actually,
Okay.
so I think that might be the
Sure, yeah.
preferred version of that.
Arms control space weapons?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fine.
Control arms and weapons
Yeah.
are-
Yeah,
I mean,
it
that's
might even
fine.
be a little substantively different. Like one is the process of weapons.
Yeah, and
the other is
I actually have
weapons.
an amazing definition of space weapons too, so. It's amazing. There's several, but yeah. One of them is from Miles' paper. There's a great one that says it excludes ICBMs and ABM systems. So.
Yeah, that was my problem, is that here are great definitions of space weapons.
Mhm. Well, I guess, so the one reason, we can talk about this a little more. In the resolution, you could have just said, we could just say, right, like, space weapons, right, like, increase international space cooperation in the area of space weapons. But it doesn't really get at what we want, which is, like, we're not, like, building them together, right? We kind of want to, like, control them together. So we did, so arms control, right,
But
is,
arms control of space weapons,
Yeah.
they just told me they had cards on.
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we can change the space, arms control of space weapons.
Well, it shows up, but
Yeah.
there's not cards.
There's
on
not a
it yet.
definition of
They
that,
did-
yeah.
you can Google it. And there's 6 articles that
Yeah.
use the phrase.
There's
Did
a
they
very
define it though, or did they just use the phrase?
No one is defining it.
That's why I just.
there's a very thorough discussion though of what arms control is. The debate is whether or not it includes
Unilateral.
soft law or whether it also requires ratification of like legally binding agreements.
But even if it does include soft law, which would be the least limiting version of it, the arms control or the criticisms of soft law are pretty robust in terms of like having verification measures or having like actual treaties encourages compliance and stuff like that. Like all of that literature is really solid.
But that may or may not, be
Yeah.
the cooperation aspect of it.
Yeah, well, we have to be international space cooperation though. Let's see.
Yeah, I understand, but we
Yeah.
didn't find a limiting mechanism on that, which is
So if you have to cooperate though.
what we found. TCBMs was also
Oh,
international
yeah, I
space
guess,
cooperation,
yeah.
which is why.
Yeah.
Is there a way
What-
is there a way to modify arms control that forces it to be like
I guess-
bilat treaties?
We could just be like, hammer out a bilateral treaty on space
Hammer out,
weapons.
yes.
I guarantee you no one will read that out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what about-
yeah, so.
I wish this was better. Active debris removal.
Yes.
Is there a card that defines that?
No, not the phrase.
Yeah, active debris removal?
Oh, I guess there's a
Yep.
phrase, yeah.
I found a few.
There we go.
So everybody's only gonna read
It's
softball.
mainly just that it's like they have to be
Well, yeah, but it's like
It's so it's at the top under the active debris removal header, and then the other one that says like debris general, because that distinguishes
Okay.
them.
Well, not
The
very.
Hildreth card says that it's involves deliberate removal of debris objects from orbit, so it has to just be like all of the technological human programs, and then so the neg would get like natural debris removal counter plans, which is discussed in this literature a little bit.
Natural? What is that?
I'm not entirely sure. It's like facilitating ways that it moves out of the atmosphere.
oh yeah,
So how
well
is it
that's
natural versus a tech?
I don't remember.
It's
It's not
debris-
removal of displacement.
debris mitigation. So there's a difference. So the Ansel 10 card, mitigation versus removal. That's a card you should read. ANSDELO.
There's a bunch of those
Yeah.
first
Yes,
ones.
but it says the first line mitigation and removal.
Okay.
It's mitigation versus removal is like a tag.
Increase debris.
Yep.
That seems like it could go the other way.
There are two ways to reduce space debris: mitigation and removal. Mitigation refers to reducing the creation of debris, while removal refers to either natural removal or active removal, right? Which is what the phrase is in the resolution by human-made systems.
I always thought natural removal was just when you ablate the bottom of the thing and then it sinks towards the
Eh,
Yes.
It's just by atmospheric drag.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But so that's why you don't want natural removal. It's like active removal. It's human-made system.
So sorry, the counterpoint there then is just like wait for the atmosphere to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't seem
Well, not
Yeah.
It
It's a
doesn't
terrible
seem like a
counterpoint,
counterpoint, it
yeah.
doesn't matter,
No,
but
no,
it
no,
just
yeah.
seems to be the slow.
Yeah,
It's pushing things
It's
into,
not
it's
great.
pushing
It's
things
not
into the
working.
atmosphere so that they burn out rather than removing them in a different means.
Yeah.
So the removal is removing them, whereas the counterplan would be to have them burn up in atmo.
Yeah.
Because
Or just counterplan to do it. Just have the U.S. do it unilaterally, right? You just don't cooperate with China.
It's
Yeah.
not important.
Okay. Yeah. You just fly up there and start doing it yourself. It turns out other countries would really hate that. Yeah.
So that one card says active, and so we want to make sure the neg has this X plug.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah.
So we're going to throw active
Well,
in there? Or?
no, there's a difference between the solvency. So I guess you all can talk more about this. For like why active removal instead of just like passive debris removal.
Active is just the term of art that people use to describe human operations. It's just like if we're going to cooperate with a country and do some sort of initiative, it's just called active debris removal in the
No
literature.
Okay.
Like regular debris removal would be called active debris removal, or at least the way we understand
Okay,
it.
so like.
And the reason we have to cooperate is
Well,
that
getting it out of there as opposed to
Yes.
monitoring the removal.
it's
Yeah,
weird.
something like that. It's definitely a term of art. I also have come across it.
Okay.
I,
So we're okay with
this
that
is,
one?
yeah. Let's keep going.
There are no results for natural space debris.
Yeah.
This one?
Which one? Exchange of space.
What's the next thing? What is
Using half though.
What?
There's no mitigate. Well, you can't mitigate. We're not doing
Yes,
mitigation.
no,
No,
mitigate
Yes.
that.
no debris mitigation, just active. Yeah.
there is some pretty good stuff that says China thinks.
Oh yeah,
planetary
we
defense.
don't, but no country right now does active debris removal.
Yeah.
It's all just
Mitigation
Yeah,
is neg
mitigation.
round.
Mitigation is just
And most of it's
we
China's
try
actually
not to
trying
do
not to
things
dump
that
stuff.
increase debris.
But if we cooperate with China or Russia to blow up debris, then they will no longer be afraid of us, which is an advantage
also-
to the AF, not a disadvantage.
There's a couple
Yeah.
things that are listed in the headers where there's evidence. So on the AF side, the first one under inherency/advocates, the Ansdell card talks about different AF ideas that could be rolled out, such as electrodynamic tethers, solar sails, drag augmentation devices, orbital transfer vehicles, and space-based lasers. Those might have like debates whether or not those are like natural processes. So those exist. The next to them would be these like really good counter plans. There's the like a fault assessments DA that's like how are you going to hold people liable for certain types of debris that might like upset certain nations, and then there's the perception of debris removal things as weapons. So like you cooperate with China, what's Russia going to think about you having like debris blowing up systems in space when they have satellites there?
Additionally,
So-
considering that much of the stuff that we would use for active debris removal is dual use. That means cooperating with either China or Russia dramatically increases the link to tech transfer this out.
Espionage.
The phrasing is, the language is fine.
Yeah, we should cut
I
some
don't
more
know if
cards in the
they
neck. I saw some of the stuff that they're talking about, but I think we need more
I
cards.
sent a new card that could maybe be used for the first wording.
Okay, we'll come back to that, for the weapons.
For
I'd like to
arms
see
control
different.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, we can tweak any of these are tweakable.
Because the
So.
perception stuff,
It's a little funky, but
just like transparency, is good.
Does anyone have any concerns about this language, exchange of space, situational awareness information?
I don't have a concern as much as like a question, which
Okay.
is that extra language of exchange of, what are you excluding about SSA?
So just get rid of apps that help with info gatherings, like help this country understand its weather, to stop monsoons and things like that. At the very least, in data exchange, it kind of gets towards Danielle's concern of that country has to give something back. It can't just be the US gives aid.
Yep.
Good, thank
Do
you.
the thing.
That was it.
One thing I will say that just
we have a card for that.
it's the Kaiser stuff.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
The only thing I'd say, and this is just, if y'all could help double check me, I mean, you could potentially say exchange and management, like if you wanted to say both. Data and information to me seem to be used interchangeably, but those are just the two questions I had before I read anything super final, but I feel pretty good about it.
This is all Ruby's good
The
work.
thing that
so.
got me thinking maybe we should do it a little differently is that card that's under limits-ish, that Kaiser one, the second paragraph is like, I don't know if I'd feel like I could bank all too big on this, but a cooperation limited to certain isolated aspects like limited sensor information and space weather does typically not fulfill the requirement to exchange space situational information on an equal footing with states possessing a broader space situational awareness system. So it seems to get towards we need to exchange data on something to both deal with rather than you just need to give data to somebody who doesn't have it, like Iran.
Yep.
And it's actually one of the very few areas where we don't cooperate with Russia on space. Like they do their own surveillance, we do our own.
Yeah, that's the other thing about each of the areas. I attempted to find ones that we don't do co-op now.
Yeah,
So.
I think right now it's the language, like we can have a separate conversation about that.
Yeah.
Planetary defense.
Yeah, that's definitely the. I kept one really good definition on it. There are others out there, but yeah, that's protecting the Earth from natural hazards that are space debris hazards, so asteroids and comets.
Wait, not by aliens?
What? No, not by aliens. Yeah, sorry. Naturally occurring objects only.
I feel like the aliens probably think they're naturally occurring.
Yeah. Nope. No, they're yeah. But and then one thing I thought was interesting, at least about this definition too, was the 3 phases: recognition, surveillance, and deflection or interception.
Ooh.
So it's not just like recognition, like, hey, I think there might be asteroids out there, or like, hey, there might be asteroids, we should look for them. But it's like, no, they might be out there, we should look for them, and then we have to do something. Otherwise, it's not planetary defense. Because we could have used the phrase like asteroid detection, but that would be only looking for asteroids. Which, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's like we don't want to build in just the look around for asteroids out. But no, I mean,
Can we just get one more?
one more planetary defense card. Yeah,
that
sure.
was good, but the one there, Dave. One.
Yeah, yeah. I read others that were similar to this, though. But yeah, I just included 3 phases. Why not?
I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Space-based solar power seems too small.
Yeah, I've been actually looking at some alternatives for that while we've been having this conversation.
Yeah.
The phrases I've been looking at are the use of space natural resources, and in that executive summary is the phrase space mining, and use of space natural resources is chapter 16 in the global space governance
Yeah. I guess.
executive summary.
Yeah. That's space mining obviously distinct from
It is,
solar
totally
power.
distinct.
So. Yeah.
Um,
I was just thinking so assessing like big major apps that have good co-op advantage areas. Like I think space mining, it's cool because it's like we're gonna go get some cool stuff. But the space-based solar powered literature, there's a good co-op key warrant, which is that like China specifically is doing like they're interested in moving to that area. China, it's like has space-based, solar power systems they're working on. They're looking for partners. There's like a good co-op key warrant. I tried looking around for other energy development systems, 'cause it's kind of like how to solve global warming or whatever, and this looks like the solvency evidence is really good. It's like it's a good debate. I mean, it does seem small. Like there's not very many apps under space-based solar power, but I think it's a good app with a co-op key warrant. I think it gets to like global warming advantages. It's energy. It's the big one that people talk about. Like there aren't any other good ways to get energy out of space other than the weird sci-fi ways. And I was kind of like, let's make it limited rather than like next is weird sci-fi energy. Like, oh, okay, that was my reasoning for space-based solar power. Is like it's got good solvency evidence. It's
I
debatable.
just feel like you've picked the one app that we know exists because we all
know it exists.
know it exists.
Yeah, so if you do a search for commercial space activity, you'll learn that India is considering doing their version of the Act on Commerce that the House passed and the Senate has made it through the Senate committee. We talked about this earlier, right? I'll do it to you, because I was doing searches looking for that, and I noticed it's like, oh, look at this, it's happening, and then I realized, no, this is all about India. India Parliament likely to introduce commercial space bill in 2019, and so it's an area of controversy that would require some, like this is what I meant earlier about this is the right discussion of how do we do non-governmental space activity, how do we regulate it? That's where Article 6 of the Outer Space Treaty talks about governments being required to do it. There's a debate. The House bill that the U.S. passed seemed to indicate that commercial access to space resources is a right. Other people are like, that's bullshit. Article 6 makes clear it's just a private interest, not a right. It needs to be regulated.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of stuff we could add. We could make the list like 10, 12, 15, 60,
Well, no,
100
my point
things.
is that solar power is included in that.
But,
Like,
and there are much broader categories
Yeah.
for sure. We could just, I guess the goal here was when crafting the list was to make the categories finite enough that it provided the negative with like good limiters.
Yeah.
Because I guess what I did with the STEM, I sort of left the STEM alone on most of them. So it's like international cooperation, and then it's 2 countries, Russia, China. So not really like lots of limiters going on there. You get the UNILAC counterplan,
Right.
and then I think each area, I think it's okay that the areas are smaller. That was my sense with it. Is like the list. It's like there's only 1 or 2 apps per area. It's like 10 to 15 apps. This is like a smaller option. People might want to vote for a smaller option. There might be a constituency who wants like 10, 15 apps instead of however many else we've got. Yeah, I think there are other categories. Yeah, they're broader for sure, and I encountered those. But that's why I did space-based solar power, because it's like, yeah, like you say, it's like it's an app. We know it's an app. We know it works. It's like that was my reason. It's like I think it's a good app, and it's got co-op key warrants. So it's the energy thing. Like, yeah, we could create a list of like other possible areas if you all want, like commercial space.
I would just rather it be
Okay.
an area where people can do some research to try to find proposals for energy development.
Oh yeah, space-based solar power.
Beyond the one where the dude wrote a law review in 2009 and then like people keep updating it. And
Yeah,
we already have our neg and our app ready to go.
it's kind of nice though.
Well, are people, is
Yeah.
there like any, I didn't do this area, are there like more solvency advocates rolling out for different things?
I guess we could do like updated research on it. I don't know.
Probably
Like,
just have to,
there's China stuff. Yeah.
What a wild idea.
Yeah. Oh, I could write you a space-based solar power China app tonight if you want. Right?
I
Like,
just want to see
I think
something.
you're misunderstanding me as opposite way. I think the point of the resolution would be to write it where we know that there's a good app, but then people could also research other apps.
well, yeah, that's like 5 other areas though, right? You see what I mean? Like, so you want to research other apps that might be good? Go to active debris removal. Climate's like, I already have a great space-based solar power app. I don't know. Yeah.
well, also,
I-
you can probably figure out a few mechanisms
Yes,
you can
Michaela.
throw around
Yeah.
with innovation.
I'm interested in Hester's like mining thing.
Yeah, the mining stuff is.
Yeah, the reason why I just recognized it's something that's happening. Countries are just trying to develop national laws, so it fits with what we were talking about with global space governance. How do we regulate it? It's a new area.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess, yeah, that's what I said. There are a bunch of other things we can add. that aren't on this current list.
I think
Yeah.
arms control of space weaponization is similar in that there's actually a bunch of different stuff you can do in there.
Yeah.
Because you could claim that weaponization is inevitable and we should do rules of conduct for how you interact. The Lavaro evidence that's included, the last half of that article, he goes into 4 principles that you should use to regulate. So he actually provides some solvency evidence for global space governance with regards to an inevitably weaponized space arena.
Yeah, I think there's
you can
broad
look at
flexibility in
particular
that one.
systems.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
so I think that one to me is a little bit broader. Like I like that it is armed control of space weaponization is broader than say active debris removal. That is talking about space junk, and there's a bunch of different ways to remove that space junk, but it's still the removal of space junk.
Well, yeah, but which is like a cooperative enterprise. I mean, it's like
There's different ways to deal with the removal, but it's limited. Like I mean,
Yeah. But
and so I was thinking if we chose another area like energy, but that's why I'm saying use of space natural resources is a term that's in the document that we're using to justify the inclusion of global space governance. Also looked for the other phrases that I'm looked for. I'm not finding definitions, but use of space natural resources and extraction of resources in space are both very common phrases. And common in the sense of they're in the space literature, but they don't occur elsewhere. Extraction of resources in space was the other one I was using.
does that include space-based solar power?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the definition.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I made the use
Yep,
of
yeah.
space natural resources is slightly broader because extraction might be, like there's a question of whether extraction also includes the use on Earth, right? If it's just mining,
Yeah.
or do you get to regulate? Yeah, but anyway, just seems like a good. If we're doing areas, I think it's a good area. It's in the literature. It's being debated now. It's timely. There's definitely controversy on it.
Putting joint crew missions is great.
Yeah.
I read that stuff that you sent earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
Question about that one area.
Yeah.
Could you increase international space cooperation with the PRC, since, well, let's just take that second wording, with the PRC in the area of joint crewed missions to do something that is not crewed?
What do you mean?
So the cooperation with China would be, right now, we've only been, inherency, we've only been talking about using crewed missions. Instead, we should cooperate with them to expand beyond crewed missions. Would that be topical? Like, in other words, is missions that are not crewed?
Oh, not under the joint crewed missions area. Yeah. Yeah. Like we don't do that with China. It's in fact like, so in the 1950s and 60s, this was like the discussion we were having about the Soviets. Was like, hey, like, do we want to co-op with them? It was a big deal that when we did joint crewed missions because it requires a lot deeper cooperation. And so that's the reason I added to the China topic is because that's something we don't do with China because of restrictions on tech and transfer and espionage. So we're really worried about that with China, but with Russia, it's like old news. So that's a way to distinguish the two. We don't have to do the two lists, but that was just a way to like, here's the China only area. That's interesting. Whereas like, the Russia area. That's just not tenable under a Russia one because we do so many. That's the only thing we do with Russia, is like joint crewed missions. So
I don't think they're that crude.
they're quite complex.
Is the cards for that were in the original?
Well, yeah, there was the crude stuff. Yeah, I guess I
Can
didn't.
you remind me what the name of that
Yeah,
was?
that was human spaceflight. Yeah, definition. That was the one thing I forgot to copy and paste over, but.
That includes a Mars mission?
Yes, absolutely. Lunar, Mars, deep space.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's something like Squo right now, the U.S. is basically, we've held off on that possibility. And that's one of the things, we might decide like some of these apps are too good, and then we should figure out how to exclude them from other resolutions. and because it's easy to exclude them from these ones, right? We just like delete the area.
List, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the app's too good. Delete it from the list. You know, but yeah,
Do we need to turn all the other ones into lists to exclude any of these?
yeah, that's it. You know, it's like purpose of lists is kind of provide a more limited possible topic. It's not designed to be super expansive, I think, but provide like good apps that kind of solve, and there's debate about them. They have international co-op key warrants, predictable net ground.
I like commercial space cooperation.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
Maybe
like,
to at least disable into that.
yeah, but it's like,
For tonight, or
Can't
as
do
we
a
begin
lot of that,
to
though,
play
with
with the
like
areas, as we want to plug into the resolutions, we have 5 that I feel good about that are listed under good. I can make that bigger. Sorry. And the to-do list for working on this one.
I mean, I think the to-do list should include all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've only had one set of eyes.
Okay.
oh yeah, if anybody else wants to work on it, yeah, of course, absolutely. And these are the other things too, like if you have encountered things that, you know, I was just like trying to come up with a list of international co-op areas, and this was the list, but of course, yeah.
What would you say you got rid of anything?
So mining was one of the things that I did, like asteroid mining, just like the unilateral counterplan was not, it's like it kind of displays that app. But like, there's property rights though is one area that could be under discussion, things like that, so, yeah.
Yes,
Mikhail.
Mikhail.
To be more specific, I think that each of these needs vetting in the context of countries that we think are likely to be included, other resolutional terms that, you know, it
Include slice
could
limits.
be put into the context of neg. There's like, you know, cards on neg stuff.
So
Some of these,
Yeah.
So the neck cards
some
are
of the
in terms of
the same like
multi-line.
set of, the same, you know, when we had a lens for looking at a country, we need a lens for thinking about the activities.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will's right that all these are topical under a China-only resolution, so you need to figure out.
They're talking about all these resolutions right
Yeah.
now, every single one, but.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
everybody was like China
Yeah,
only,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's.
yeah.
So you need to figure out what you're
We're
gonna do
talking
about that.
Plugging in for 2A and 2B, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
They are also included. One.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
they're actually, for national space policy, I guess we could decide to use that as a stem or not. It would not be necessary if the list was restrictive enough, likely, right? So like a joint crewed mission, for example, that would definitely lose to the NASA cooperates with the Chinese Space Agency counterplan. The president need not be involved with declaring a joint crewed mission.
Sure. We can discuss that.
Okay, yeah, that's not an app.
Adrian,
under-
are you good on a revised conversation?
Yeah. Verb. What's the beginning of the document?
The verb is the word.
Okay, so the stuff at the top was in the file that Patrick and Brian had sent out earlier on national space policy, so those are examples of what the cards say about national space policy. I guess my initial hesitation to use establish was that I felt that establish kind of presupposed that there wasn't already a national space policy, but I guess, meh.
I'm willing to do some work. I'm willing to do some work on adopt.
Okay.
It resolves the problem of one exists now.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of put the words in the order that I thought. I don't love any of them, but and maybe adopt. I just didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
But establish seemed okay. I guess there were a couple of weird things that.
I mean, adopt always has the like silly.
You didn't really finish that sentence.
Originate, create,
Inaugurate.
stuff with it, which was your
Yeah.
initial impression.
Right.
Yep.
So I guess,
Why not
I mean,
revise?
establish sounded like you kind of needed to, sounded a little like resolved, that you needed to make it firm, settled. said, I don't love any of these really, but we need something. Amend at least had an interesting angle of that the definitions of amend assume it's to make better.
No, we gotta improve it.
Yeah.
If you make it worse, then you lose on C.
So
Typical.
I thought that was at
How do you make
least
space policy worse?
an
You read
interesting
DA. You lose
facet
the DA.
to
You
add
lose
to
on
the
T.
conversation. Revise, my
Put it in
slight
top
worry
category.
about revise is that
it?
for some of it was like kind of mark it up for revision,
Mhm.
like not
Yeah.
actually making the revision. I don't know what it was unclear to me from all of the definitions of revise kind of left me feeling a little
Yeah. Could revision or revise take out process counter plan competition a little bit? Like initiated process too, yeah.
a little what I was worried about. Then create, yeah. I mean, what's weird about all of these is that, like I said, cooperation was kind of the big hallmark of Obama's version of the national space policy. So it just feels like make space great again. I don't know, or make cooperation great again. It feels like we're. It doesn't feel any of the definitions that hint about it being new feel weird because it was a thing. Okay, there's a revision definition that's placed on here.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the one. Yeah, re-examine for correction. And then that develop, that one just sucked. I don't know. I was also just worried that if we were going to end up with resource-related things, that we were going to develop
twice.
flopping around in the middle of the res.
Yeah.
Don't let it flop around, right? Do not allow that.
Trying to develop flop around.
So I guess, I mean, if I had to decide right now from what we have, I would go with establish. It does, okay, the one other thing is previously, a couple of times Patrick earlier would say a national space policy, and at one point it was like, no, you gotta say its, but now like establish its sounds weird. Like amend its, revise its sound fine. Establish its sounds weird, but maybe that's just me.
Could we use like
Yeah, I just
update?
feel like it's maybe.
Yeah, I like update.
Well then, cut some cards on it. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Put some updates on it.
Yeah,
You can update the vibe.
my only concern with the amend update is, does it prevent the affirmative from getting rid of what we currently have and replacing it whole hog? You know? Like if you think that the changes that Trump has made with his directives, and you just wanna like start over again, can the affirmative do that if it's amend? You know? But then again,
Or replace.
is
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, 'cause you can't keep anything old if you replace.
Right,
So.
you know, well, and also it just, then it's sort of kind of too backwards looking, so,
Establish is probably fine. I can go through and grab all of the back files for all of the times we've done establish. Like it does have the benefit of like.
Right, no, it was just, I mean, I was gonna do that, but I figured I
No.
was just trying to get
Yeah,
quick
I
version
appreciate
of
all the
stuff
other
out.
work.
Again, my only weird concern about establish is I still feel like we want its in there. And so I feel like we need to think about the grammar of that.
Okay. Okay.
Or prove me wrong, maybe its doesn't matter.
I mean, the fact that you have national, we have national in there, right? I mean, you know, 'cause before it would just say climate policy, energy policy, etc. I mean, there is stuff for a national space policy, which implies it is your nation, but I got nothing more than that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a downside to it. I mean, if you say the USFG should establish its national space policy, like, it maybe sounds funny, but it makes it super clear. If you say USFG should establish a national space policy, I still think it's clear enough it's the USFG doing it. I don't think there's a downside of it.
Establish its at least has 3 million hits if you put it in quotes, so it's used.
Okay.
Sure.
Then fine. I'd say establish. Establish its.
cooperation.
Yep. All right. So 1A here.
Yeah, I'm just getting there.
Sorry, so separate on the committee. I forwarded an email that I received with suggested topic wording, and so I think kind of
Sure.
or there's also no evidence or written justification yet, but I've been told that that is coming or forthcoming, and so we can either just wait to have that discussion once there's justification or evidence, but I think is the standard we've set up for every other suggestion that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Or we can just go ahead and
I will say, I did, the dictionaries I was using, I did check for definitions of change, and they were no different from alter, and not, or, I don't understand what, I don't know how up to date he is on the conversation, but I feel like change was already covered.
So the
The US without the FG, that's
Yeah.
a separate question.
well, they're advocating change. United States change so that the topic is
so they
bidirectional.
want a bidirectional option on the resolutions.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and to
We're having
change what?
cards.
Well, they're just like that's
I
that's.
can't think of evidence. that-
Roberto says United States is an actor and change so that bidirectionality ensures topical KAB
It's
ground.
cards.
Let me
I don't
say,
think I can't think of a card if I could write the card.
change
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily
That
mean
would make me
bidirectional.
wanna do
If
this.
it's the
Right,
US,
well, that's what I
Still
don't
wanna
get
see
goal.
those.
Yeah,
The
the
goal,
justification
right, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing is I vetted, where did they want the word change? Is I guess
Yeah,
my
that's
question.
Just like change
It's
colon.
right there. Change,
United
they're
States.
suggested, yeah, change its co-op.
In the area of
back-
space
back when we were
cooperation
working with
It's
INC,
not
for the
even
country
space
list.
international space cooperation, they're like,
It actually seems like weapon
or
would
the
be
opposite.
then.
Should change
Super deep.
cooperation.
Think about it.
Which would allow
no, because the
more.
problem is not.
You can do more or
I want
less co-op.
weapons. I want only weapons.
More or less co-op.
Just saying.
I don't know.
This,
I don't know.
he's winning on the team, it limits keys.
it's about limits. This is about making the app like doubly powerful
Yeah.
for some reason that I can't understand.
Miles can't fathom it.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
that to-do list, can you scroll down just a little bit where,
course.
in addition to doing the adopt work, I'm gonna keep on working on that natural resources energy thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can do planetary defense, more definitions.
I was gonna say, I could do
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I already have a lead on those.
Yep.
Well, that
Eight-
keep the
eight
net
rounds,
debris lit.
Yeah.
Gonna cut some more cards.
Make debris. There's some already in the file too.
Yes.
No, I know, I see
Okay.
'em.
Okay,
Yeah,
can we do
yeah.
those
Planetary-
resolutions? We got more
Planetary
follow-up.
defense already included brief.
So,
No. Space debris is specific.
Clarman was asking.
Oh, planetary defense does not include space debris.
Okay, it seems like it was in another drawing portion of your
It's like natural. It does refer to natural debris, but it's asteroids and comets. It clarifies. Yeah.
Right, like
Yeah.
that debris assumes we need it.
Yeah.
not our
So
debris.
No,
let's
active
go-
debris management
Human
is.
active debris.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one's still there on the slate.
Yeah.
I need to sub in the correct country names. I can do that.
Do it.
We need to sub that in as well.
Can we check in?
Yeah.
Anything else need to
Southwest.
change for that?
Well, at some point, we need to have a discussion of whether or not the commercial is core negative ground, and then if we want to modify what cooperation is. I'm not saying we need to do it now, but that's where the civil and or military stuff comes in versus commercial cooperation. But I can do some more work on that. We can talk about it later.
If we put in civil and military, that's what you're saying?
We're sure that excludes commercial?
Well, there's the three categories, and
I guess I
Commercial,
keep
yeah.
seeing so much that implies that, like,
I mean, I
civil
think
might
I don't
cover
think that yes, in some ways, I mean, this is what I'm working on now. In civil, they do public-private partnerships, right? But if it's increasing its civil cooperation with another country, then I don't think that includes the public-private partnership.
One option, I guess,
I think
would be.
cooperation could
Do
do
we-
that. I'm
That's what I'm asking. I understand you want it to say that, and I
Yeah.
can understand that would be a good argument.
One option would be to just use the name of the space agencies too that are in Russia or China or India. because they're government agencies that we do cooperation with. It's not like the greatest, but if we want to live it out commercial, boom.
I feel more weird about those maybe changing names or having.
It doesn't
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't limit commercial because unless you put NASA, because we could have Roscosmos buy SpaceX stuff. Like it's basically
You mean like we
exotic.
sell them SpaceX stuff, like the U.S. federal government?
Well, no, they reduce the barriers for the cooperation. I mean, that's.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we could do government to government too. I guess I'm not that concerned though about like.
I'm concerned about our ability to stay on track right now.
Yeah.
1B, so that, I've added to the do list down the bottom. Aldinger, do you see that? So your concern was it's down here.
Yeah, I got you. That's fine. I didn't say we need to talk about it now.
Okay, great. I just didn't.
My bad.
This one?
It's all the way at the bottom. All the way to the
All
bottom.
the way to the bottom.
He copied it twice. It's down at the bottom again now.
Oh, good.
It's under this Sunday morning to-do list stuff.
Gotcha. My bad.
Are we still okay with that?
Do we? Question: do we need federal government if it's national space policy?
You wanna? What do you think?
Or just can you just say United States?
Oh no, we don't want to do that. No, it's gotta be.
If
federal
it's
government.
national space policy,
Yeah, no. Let's not fuck with it.
we're just trying to figure out how to get appease
Yeah.
people.
Like, why would we remove federal government? Yeah. The states could all get together and make a space policy. I don't know. I don't want that. Yeah.
That was also the action that proposed wording, and so if they come back tomorrow with like written justification, I think
We
should
can talk about it,
entertain
but yeah, but
we
otherwise,
could talk
yeah.
about it. But just a heads up that discussion might be happening tomorrow with this justification.
Yeah, just, like, risk minimization here, Nick.
So we have these three
Yeah, but
to fix this one, correct?
no peace.
There's a lot of disadvantages.
But we probably don't want to list them there, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the activities.
There's almost no. We want to put cooperation with the countries
In the area.
Yeah.
in one or more.
Yeah, I
of the-
constructed resolutions in that. Yeah, just like. I'm not sure we need to say revise its national space policy depending on the list of activities. Which is kind of unnecessary. Like I was talking about, if we want to exclude the, NASA, like joint crewed missions,
Yeah.
is not a viable affirmative if it's a national space policy. It's not a viable area if it's
Okay.
national space policy. The point of some of the lists, at least, a small list would be viable under just like international cooperation, international space cooperation.
It depends on the areas. I agree.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the area. But if it's like 4 or 5, I don't know that we need to give the neg the like agency counterplan in addition to just negs to all the
Right,
areas.
but I thought we were told that like a single seat on the ISS is
It wouldn't meet the stuff those areas. It's not a joint crewed mission. It's not active debris removal. Yeah, it's not planetary
Two
defense.
seats, us and China. Why is that not a joint?
Yeah,
crewed
well,
mission?
there would be a joint crewed mission, absolutely. But there are dissets strong dissets. I mean, we can do more work on that, but trust me, like, we've not done any joint missions at all with China.
I know
Yeah.
that. I'm saying I'm skeptical that like we end up with thermonuclear war because we put a second seat in the. I would still prefer there be a large requirement of change.
Yeah, I
We've
mean, we
not-
could.
we've not had a big discussion about what like we have literally a few gendered language cards. We have very little set of cards on human spaceflight,
Yeah.
AFNEG, etc.
Yeah, we can remove that area. I'm saying that's fine.
Do we
Yeah.
want more work on the at least including an offer stuff, or do we feel like that was settled? Because it is the B in both 1A and 1B and 2B.
At least
I
including
don't
the
remember
offer.
that anymore.
Oh.
This is the floor ceiling stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Correct. Well, it's more just
No,
the
this was
offer
the,
part.
This
Yeah.
was the
The
concern,
offer,
this was the
yeah.
concern about.
Oh yeah, we didn't universalize that for some reason. Why didn't we put offer in all of them?
Because we didn't even finish the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, that's true.
We tabled it.
Oh yeah. What I guess I'm in favor of offer. Are there people opposed to offer?
I'm opposed to
Okay,
proposal,
cool.
offer.
Never mind, let's not discuss it now then. Yeah. Or just erase it. I'm okay with that too. Everyone okay with that?
Well, I don't know how you're racing some of these.
Well,
No, I just know what I mean. It's like we don't have time to talk about it anymore. Like,
We have to talk about tomorrow.
I don't know. Fuck that. We don't have time to talk about it tomorrow. That's like,
Well, would you like the resolutions to include an offer? Do you think the benefits of doing so are worth its inclusion? I think that it makes the resolutions worse.
you do?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Get rid of it then. We can just vote on it right now.
I've been
Yeah,
outvoted
well,
before.
so honestly, I only wrote this in response to what seemed like a shared concern about international cooperation. If that doesn't exist, I
Who
don't
would
need
you
it.
share with or among?
If there's going to be like
Let's say
some
no.
evolving community consensus that you can just propose and do the thing
Yeah.
and that'll work out, then fuck it, why not?
Yeah, I
Offer
shared
was
the
only
consent, but,
in
yeah.
response to that potentially being a concern, but it seems now everybody agrees that it's not. So I don't know why we would include it or
Yeah,
keep it.
I agree. If we're in agreement that to get rid of it, then get rid of it.
I think given that we abandoned the discussion yesterday,
Yeah.
Okay.
everybody
Yeah.
should sleep on it tonight.
Okay.
It's
It
there
should,
at
it
the
should be a
moment.
discussion tomorrow.
Can we maybe flag where in the Dropbox?
I was
the
gonna
stuff
say,
was?
We
I
can
did
try.
some
Day one
cards,
offer. I think
and-
Revise sent it out.
and there was
Day
also
one
that
offer?
Brian did some cards.
I think so, yeah.
It's under, it's in the day one folder and then wording paper offer.
Okay.
Brian's stuff was wording paper offer, mine was in co-op. The me and Patrick co-op cards somewhere.
Cooperation words topic committee.
Yeah, that.
Okay. You just flag that.
What did I say?
Yep.
Okay. Good. Legal barriers. Sounds like we're still at an impasse.
Did you send out the requirements stuff?
Yeah, I think requirements is better than barriers.
Oh yeah, there.
It still probably requires a couple more cards, but it is significantly better than barriers if we're going to consider that as a conversation.
So we're requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Legal and or statutory or and or regulatory requirements.
Regulatory, okay, so there. Requirements. Requirements by itself didn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of regulatory barriers, regulatory requirements. Did you, Michaela, did you do regulatory restrictions?
Press delete.
Or is that-
Regulatory restrictions. No, I did not. Well, I have some tabs open.
Because we're just like barriers bad, but I don't know if we
Right,
did the
yeah.
restriction stuff.
I have some tabs. We'll revisit them.
Do we need 3A, B, and C? I don't even remember the difference here.
You can delete B. I didn't find enough solvency advocates for the barrier to entry stuff with space in mine.
Okay. And then one of you suggested that.
I suggested that as
Specifying the barrier.
as a means of trying to limit it more, but yeah, it's just a rewording of, and it specifies the type of regulatory controls.
Okay, we'll leave it there. For now.
Yeah.
You don't need a comma after technology.
Yeah,
though.
I'll go for it.
There's only 2.
Yeah, I kind of thought I was going to add more, and then I just didn't. So. Oh, you deleted it already, I think.
We kind of changed now, right?
Exploration and development got kind of next late stage.
Oh.
I would like to add volume.
What was you, oh yeah, the one in the blue,
Mm-hmm.
page 17.
Page 16 now, I think. There it is.
Can I take the blue
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
that's why I'm working on adopting those, because there's still some parts that kind of justify, but.
Ooh. Sorry.
Turn it, you go to the areas paper, areas research.
Yeah, give me just a second, please.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to find this stuff. Yeah. We just did, because I like that definition a lot better, but obviously I can't find it right now.
Which one are you looking for?
One Natalie and I sent out, and she sent an edited version of.
Governance wordings.
Oh.
61332.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good Lord, what
We haven't
happened?
admitted any of that.
I don't think there's any word on there we haven't.
Just joking.
Oh.
Those.
Okay, what else?
Oh, would
What
you?
did you ask?
Yeah, I was gonna have you grab one of the areas research one, just for the STEM. Yeah, you can grab the. I guess the Russia one. Russia, China's top, and then China's bottom. And you can leave areas pending, but yeah, actually, go ahead and put both in there. The Russia, China one, and the Russia. Yeah.
What was this?
Although, is that just favorite res, China and or Russia with China? Is it just 6 P and C?
Oh, I don't know. Not really. It's like.
It's its own res, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it's favorite, yeah.
Like, I would put the areas on there just.
It's your favorite. Though, yeah, it's their favorite.
I can delete that.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's just the thing. Okay.
Oh, you can delete number 7 too.
You sure?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I looked at other treaties. Most of these are debatable, but it's like, yeah, they would not sustain probably a good year's worth of debate. Like it's hard to find recent solvency advocates. Yeah, like Adrian's comment earlier was like people love the treaties topic because the treaties were like good and awesome and well debated. Yeah, this would not be that. So, yeah, it's like
Okay.
it would be small and limited, but not like the depth of literature wouldn't be there.
It's also on that
Yeah.
because I think 6C and 5B are now kind of the same.
6C and what?
5B.
Well, here's my major. I was surprised he put countries in his areas one, because if I voted for a China only one, I kind of am okay with like
Anything.
international space
Yeah.
co-op with China.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was okay with that at the beginning, but
The only thing I'd say is
that's
if
huge.
We could,
That's pretty big.
if we could even then consider making 6C
But it's not-
just
it's not
7, because China only seems kind of like its own
Yeah, but
thematic thing
We
versus
don't
advocacy.
the stuff you have to.
no, we do enough. We do some. Do a little bit with China.
That version
Oh,
of
well,
China
that's
is
the
good for you, Adrian.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there was a China only one, you would want it to only be 4 things with China.
Yep. I told you we'd get to this point.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The part where I want the smallest version because I like being in.
I like being big too.
No, you don't.
Yeah. No, the reason I added countries is it's easier to control than for like what we do and don't do now, right? Because we do some of those activities with like some of our partners in a way.
Yeah.
like space situational awareness, you can't put that in a resolution that's catch-all. Because we do that with like 13 countries. So you just like ramp up our SSA with Japan. Like, yeah, exactly. It works.
Is there space to read cards in the comments?
So that was my answer.
Yes.
Rubai.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
There are so many.
Yeah.
Even if they're not here,
No, not at all.
they're
I was
here.
just trying to figure out if they were in the dock.
Oh, who knows?
I think they are, but yeah.
I
I think you get it though, even if they're not.
You don't need
They
them.
are.
They exist. They're real good.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, as we break for the night, what else is on this to-do list down here? Is tomorrow we need to come up with a slate, we need to finalize it, we need to think about what we want to change about these to be included, what do we want, because this is big, right? So I'm gonna go to the top and I'll let it sit there for a second.
We have offer floating around inconsistently.
So offer is in 1B and 2B.
It's also in both the global governance ones.
Oh yeah. It's in both the ones of the areas.
Better not be in mine.
Get it out.
I guess we could just talk about offer now
Global
then.
governance ones.
Do we want to settle offer before we go to bed?
No.
Well, I guess, is there anybody left who is
For
still
A and
going
B.
to be an active
Yeah.
proponent in the morning?
I don't think
At the
so,
moment?
yeah.
I just want people to like,
What did you say?
Yeah.
I just, if
But
people
Kayla was
are
on
gonna
the fence
spend
with that.
tonight looking at it, I just feel like they might be wasting time if there's nobody who's still an active proponent. So I just,
Offer.
Offer.
I'd offer to scratch it.
Yeah, my
We say no.
The first time someone appreciates it, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, because I don't know why people should have to read through that if there's nobody who's gonna win it.
yeah. I'm in agreement with you. No.
I just don't remember how I felt.
Oh, okay. I know Herndon's opposed to offer.
Yes.
Like presumption should be against it, and if someone makes an argument why it should be.
And nobody's making an argument for it though. That's the thing. Yeah.
What I'm just saying
We've
is
retracted
tonight-
all
tonight
arguments.
someone goes, oh shit.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we can revisit it, but it seems like we should take it out until someone's making an argument for it.
I'm not, Adrian
I don't
just
wanna say
responded with
100%
sleep on it, you know.
Yeah, I was just saying that we needed to, like, if we're gonna possibly end up with it in, we needed to have a coherent rhyme or reason for why it was in some and
Oh,
not
yeah.
others. And
So it's in 1B and 2B, I deleted it from 4A and 4B, good catch.
And then you just have to change increase to increasing in 1B and 1A or 2B.
Well, if you delete offer, then 1B and 2B can just be deleted.
What?
Separate.
I thought they were the floor and ceiling.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it could be at least including an increase, a
Yeah.
substantial increase.
yeah, I mean, the other thing obviously is we should all be reading these and going, okay, what do we need to fix that one if we're taking out offer, et cetera. Like, we don't need to nitpick our way through each one of them this second.
Yep.
No. We do eventually. Good job, everyone. We killed it now.
Probably the aliens.
Is she okay for it?
She was coughing, so that's a good sign.
That's true.
Truth.
We don't like barriers. What do we like?
Requirements, I think, at the moment.
We require.
Regulatory requirements.
Regulatory,
Yeah.
Stop saying
legal and or
requirement.
regulatory
Doesn't
requirements.
make sense the way you keep saying it.
He said barriers, I said requirements. It's super regulatory in front of it. 4C doesn't really.
4C's its own.
Oh, it does say
Yeah, 4C's
space governance.
testers.
Yeah, it does say space governance.
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't see space governance.
Yeah, that's true. There, that's
So fair.
So the only thing I don't know if anybody else has similar thought. Like it seems to me like China only, at least thematically, kind of seems like its own choice versus like 6A and 6B, which are just adversaries or collections of adversaries. But I don't want to drag people at a later time. I just
But China only is 7.
yeah. At least that's I don't know because to me those seem like separate choices. Like someone who wanted a very small China-driven product line.
And not to bring up this debate, but to bring it up again, we've decided that just China and Russia are the countries, because that's the only ones listed in.
Oh yeah, I guess we have.
No, I mean, based on,
You mean in the ones that list them?
based on, what do you mean?
Yeah, that's true. India's now on. Yeah.
India's in 1, the 1s, the 2s.
Mhm.
Okay.
Six is distinct in that it's the one that changes India to Iran. 7 is distinct in that it is the only China, Russia only one, I think. Okay, to-do list for tomorrow. We got someone's going to come up with the energy, or Hester is an energy, mining, or natural resources area phrasing.
We'd love to have other people help me with that, but yeah.
I'm happy to join.
I started doing some of that work just, you know. I always go back to where the laws are, so I've been looking at like the treaties, where they read.
Planetary Defense, one more card.
The stuff we already have.
Everything of that. We just want another set of research, make sure it fits with a resolution, these phrases.
What are we looking for there? More T cards, more
recent solvency advocates.
more recent solvency
No,
advocates. or-
I feel I have T cards.
Yeah. You want T card?
Yeah.
Oh. For which one? Planetary Defense is up there. Adrian's got that. But.
Oh, actually, I actually, to be fair, I felt I was okay, so I'll shut up. I'll see what other people want.
I just, for me, joint crude missions, it seemed as if the research was purely focused from the
You just want like ask the
gender
Meg on
language
that?
blog
Yeah.
cards, not like.
Do you want more T cards on it then, or?
Yeah, I want a card
okay.
that says that like, there's like some article that says that like abstractly says NASA now refers to them this way, but and then obviously because the SpaceX mission was called Crew Dragon, they seem to refer to using it the word crude, but
Great name.
That's Crew Dragon.
I'm not convinced it's a limiting term. In the main article in there that you say that says for using it says that it's not a very good limiting term.
What are you
It's like
afraid
half
it
a
includes
blog.
though?
I don't know what
Oh,
it
okay.
includes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing.
Yeah, because like they define crude as it's like including humans.
I mean, it's
and-
just that
yeah.
the top part is like, and I don't think this is a very good limiting or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
very good term
Yeah.
for these reasons. I just don't.
It could be like human space flight. Like we could do that. We just nix the whole area too. I'm not wedded to it. It's just like an area.
I mean,
that we don't do China.
my point was just like,
Yeah.
be good to know more.
Well, that
Advanced
was-
primate.
That was the stuff that I was saying. It's like
What's
for
that?
all
Terrestrial?
these TFNA.
Okay.
Did like several hours with multiple people on countries and
Yeah, and
just
then areas.
taking
yeah.
areas on.
No, agreed. Yeah, exactly. It's like.
A lot less.
Yeah. We just kind of ran into problems limiting topics.
Right.
So.
And where are the new requirement cards? I'd like to put a note here as well.
It's called Barriers Requirements More Day 2. Right at the end there. End of the row.
Barrier. I'm sorry. I heard the word area. That's my failures.
we still had concerns about governance in relation to individual countries, solvency advocate, that stuff. I left the room when you folks were talking about participation, and I don't know if that word still, or if there were other words we thought we still wanted to tack in there maybe.
Yeah.
What is?
The gender language is in NASA's guide. NASA.gov.
Oh yeah. I thought that was quoting. So that's
Those
just
are
like we
the
shouldn't do it. Where's the like what we should call
Fours,
it?
correct.
That's
Yep.
robotic.
No, it's just a human.
Yeah. Oh, and like I'm still concerned. Just like what does it include?
So piloted spaceflight might be the term.
Anybody else?
It's true, but
Top of the committee or not? Thoughts, ideas?
it's like you can be piloted by an AI or robot, though. Right. That was what I ran into.
I guess
It's gonna be human now.
I feel like energy, resources,
Like, we don't
etc.
care
was late
about the
breaking.
animals thing.
The term is.
Like I know it was on the
space
board
emissions and
yesterday.
stuff
I
like-
know we said
Well, we have
solar
missions
for a
already
minute
using.
earlier.
We're using mission.
I just don't.
Okay.
And I know
No,
obviously
but
people talk about
Yeah.
mining various places. What resources are we talking about?
Well,
What are we gonna get?
the reason why I was looking for a phrase that was a little bit broader was, the debate that's most ripe is less over a particular resource than whether private entities can claim sovereignty or can claim this, we found this on the asteroid, so it belongs to us, we can profit. So the debate that's going on and the legislation that came out of the House seemed to indicate that it's a right that isn't regulated by the government, but other people are like, no, Article 6 of the Outer Space Treaty says the nation is liable for it. So that's where the debate is taking place. So they aren't talking about a specific resource as much as like property rights. Can it be regulated? Is it, like some people say it has to be
Alright, but
regulated.
nobody's gonna get up and get on their high horse in the 1AC about property
Helium.
rights.
Well, capitalism.
They're going to get up and say that as a result we will be able to get X resource, which will be able to solve Y global
Well,
problem.
the
What is that?
The problem with that is that's solved by the unilateral account. Like the debate that makes it topical and worth talking is the international cooperation part.
Right,
to
right,
set
no, I know that,
guidelines.
but they're still going to claim an advantage that
Well, right, but
is
the counterplan gets out of that. The counterplan, those companies are going to. This is what's different. This is actually why the bidirectionality of it. In the case of what we're talking about here, the plan needs to set up a regulatory framework to govern that activity that is going to happen in the status quo. Now the AF may say we make it better or make it more efficient, but the counter plan to do that without doing international co-op solves all of the helium-3, like all of that gets solved. If your advantage is simply this resource would be badass, you can do that without global space governance or international cooperation because the private company is gonna mine that resource. What makes it the advantage, like in the area of the topic, is the regulatory framework probably would actually regulate and reduce, like the law of the sea. Right? That's the controversy. That makes it. The reason why I want to include it is it's the most recent U.S. space legislation. It's the big debate over the Outer Space Treaty right now. So it's timely, and it speaks to the international co-op part rather than the I found this sweet hydrogen 4 or helium 3 or whatever.
Alright, I guess I'm just worried because this is like the area we have nothing.
Agreed.
And we're gonna find out tomorrow with like 5 hours to go.
Well, it is chapter 16 in your executive summary.
Right, which I didn't even read all of, so.
But you told us to do that very left.
Right, I told you to do it because I'm busy downloading emails and putting them in the Dropbox.
Fair, okay.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not saying we shouldn't include it, I was just looking for like more, as much of a preview as possible. That was at least helpful.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to find and see if I can get some better language, you know. I originally did like commercial space activity, because one thing we haven't mentioned is like tourism, like putting a hotel in space.
Space plane. Exploration, as opposed to the joint crewed missions, is what Will and I were talking about. So it avoids the put one person on said shuttle.
Yes. It allows to like let one person look at a telescope.
No, but you do human exploration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. I can do some other work on that. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
Human with their telescope.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. If there's a card there's
Joint
no
human deep,
Henry that-
joint human deep
Happy to read
space
Smith.
exploration.
Anybody else got
Hey, that sounds
anything
good.
that we can resolve in the next minute? Okay.
True.
Busy day tomorrow.
It'll be right there.
Okay.
All the credit that has.
Yeah, should be it. Should probably.
9 o'clock, okay? Okay. Let's go. See you all in the morning. Long day. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.